What is up guys, Nico here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And for today, we are going to talk about the Tamron 28-200 lens. Alright, so first off, thank you again for watching another video here on the channel. If you are into, videos about tech gear or camera gear, some tutorials about Photoshop, or again, tutorials about tech gear, then consider subscribing to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon if you want to get notified whenever I upload new videos. Now, let's get into the lens. Now, my reason for buying the 28-200 from Tamron is because for my second lens, I wanted something that we could bring as a single lens camera kit for when we get back into traveling. Now, when I travel, I like to take both photos and video. And when I am out taking photos, I love using a long focal length or a telephoto lens to take some photos. When I was still using my Canon 550D, I found myself using my 55-250 millimeter a lot. That's a full frame equivalent of roughly 89-405 millimeter. So that's the full frame equivalent in terms of focal length. Now, the 55-250 millimeter lens was the lens that I used from Canon when I took photos of this mountain goat during our honeymoon. Also of this random bird. And also for, sports photography when I took photos of these random basketball players. Yep, I kind of flexed a little bit on that one. Anyway, so there, I just love the focal length when it comes to photography. I don't know why, maybe it's the compression. It's, the shallow depth of field that you get even though you don't have a wide open aperture. I don't know which one, but I just love long focal lengths. The other lens I was considering buying during this time was also a lens of Tamron, the 28-75 f2.8. If I was a professional videographer, I think I would have considered the 28-75 more than the 28-200 lens, mainly because you have more flexibility in terms of the aperture being constant at 2.8 across all focal lengths of the lens. Now, that is important when you find yourself in low light situations, or if you have a shot where you need to zoom in. And with the 28-200, since it has a variable aperture, when you zoom in, your light will change. So in professional video shoots, I think that is a non-negotiable, because your light will visibly change. You will see the image getting dark, and unless you wanted to fix that in post, I think you're better off with a constant aperture lens. But then again, that is not the reason why I was looking for a second lens. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted a single lens kit when traveling. Also, when I got this lens, I discovered that at 70 millimeters, the aperture is still an f4. And correct me in the comments if I am wrong, because this is just an assumption. I assume that there are professional videographers who shoot projects using constant f4 lenses, like a 24-70 f4 or a 16-35 f4 lens. So, that discovery opens up possibilities of me still using or being able to use this lens whenever I consider getting projects for video in the future. Now, one of the concerns that I had when considering the 28 to 200 was the widest focal length. I am used to vlogging on my 17 to 28, but if I am going to bring the 17 to 28 as a single lens kit, I don't think this will satisfy the long focal length that I want for photography. So I put this to the test if this will be wide enough for vlogging, and take a look at this. Alright, so this is the vlogging test of the Tamron 28 to 200. I'm at 28 millimeters right now. Let's get some light here. There. So this is 28 millimeters, but I am on standard steady shot. But I usually, when vlogging with my 17 to 28, I usually turn on active stabilization. I don't stay on standard, but this is what standard is. This is the actual 28 millimeter focal length. When I put it to standard, it will crop in a bit. Oops, there you go. So that's active. So you see there is a crop, and this is my ideal setting when vlogging. Active steady shot is on, so it's this tight, because I think standard is not enough for me when walking while vlogging. So this is how tight or narrow it is, so you be the judge if that is enough for you or not. Now, you be the judge if that is enough for you. For me, for traveling, I think that is enough for vlogging, since I'm anticipating that when we are traveling, I wouldn't be vlogging that much. I would take videos more of the surroundings, the people around me, the activities that we are doing, instead of, holding the camera on a tripod and talking while walking. Now, for talking heads while traveling, I think, you could easily put down your mini tripod on a table or wherever and step back a little bit. So I don't think the 28 millimeters will be an issue for vlogging. Now, this lens has a minimum focusing distance of 19 centimeters at 28 millimeters and 80 centimeters at 200 millimeters. Now, I tried this by taking photos of some of the leaves here in the house, and what I noticed is the focusing distance, the minimum focusing distance at 28 millimeters can give you a closer look or a closer feel to the subject that you are taking, as opposed to the 200 millimeter minimum focusing distance. I'll probably flash the two photos side by side here on the screen right now. Now, some of the questions that I received is, how is the bokeh or the shallow depth of field when using this lens, since you don't have 2.8 across the board? The answer to that is, that depends how much bokeh or shallow, or how shallow you want your depth of field to be. Because number one, not everyone wants that super duper shallow depth of field. And number two, shallow depth of field or bokeh is not just achieved by a wide aperture. You could also, consider the distance of the subject from the background and the compression, how far the focal length is or how tight the focal length is. And here I did a test shooting our bamboo. This is at 35 millimeters at f3.2. As you can see, there is amount of bokeh. For me, that is enough. And here is some sample footage at f70 at f4, and I don't know about you, but I think that footage is blurred, or that background is blurred. Now, I also took two photos to show you the range of the focal length of this lens. This is me standing at a random spot in our house at 28 millimeters, and this is when I zoomed in all the way to 200 millimeters, standing in the same spot, although I changed where the center of the lens is. But basically, I didn't move forward or backward, same spot. This is a difference of 28 and 200 millimeters. Also, just to show you different looks that you could achieve with this versatile focal range, here's a photo of, or a group of photos of my son. This is taken at 28 millimeters. This is taken at 70 millimeters, and this is taken at 200 millimeters, all at f5.6. And as you can see, depending on what mood you want, whether you want, the background to be there or a more compressed, focused image on the subject, then you have that flexibility using the different focal lengths. Also, here is a sample footage of me taking a video of the 17 to 28 at different focal lengths. And of course, you can see me here at different focal lengths as well. Apologies because some of the footages here, I had my head chopped off because I am a one-man crew and I could not see the screen because I was so far away, especially at 200 millimeters. Alright, so let me give you some more of the specs of this lens. This lens has a filter diameter of 67 millimeters, just like the 17 to 28 and the 28 to 75 and the f2.8 primes of Tamron. So I think Tamron is standardizing all their lenses to have a 67 filter diameter thread, so that you could use your filters if you are going the all Tamron lens route. This lens also has a minimum aperture of f16 to f32. I'm assuming that's f16 at 28 millimeters to f32 at 200 millimeters. The optical construction of this lens is 18 elements in 14 groups, and it has 7 aperture blades, which I have no idea what these two specs really mean. I just hear it all the time from professional videographers or photographers that do lens reviews. I don't actually know what they do or how it affects an image, but they're there. Whoops! They're there just in case you want the information. So that is it for today's video of the review of the 28 to 200 lens from Tamron. If you have more questions or you want me to test some more aspects of this lens, just hit me on the comments section. And if you're still watching this video, I'd like to thank you. I highly appreciate if you would hit that like button to help the algorithm of this channel. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you'll get notified whenever I upload new videos here on the channel. Also, like me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!